Live from New Delhi, watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Saudi Arabia strikes Yemen's Mukalla port over shipment of weapons for separatists as Gulf rift deepens. Vessels arrived from UAE. Israel defends Somaliland move at United Nations amid concerns over Gaza motives. US accuses Security Council of double standards. India's Hindustan Aeronautics Limited's next generation civil helicopter Dhruv-NG takes to skies for first time, highlighting country's rise as the world's third largest domestic aviation market. Prime Minister Narendra Modi condoles the demise of Bangladesh's former Prime Minister Khaleda Zia's death, hails her contributions to boost ties between both the nations. Dense fog disrupts air and railway services across North India. Over 120 flights cancelled, several trains delayed and diverted. US President Donald Trump warned Iran of fresh strikes and said Hamas would have hell to pay if it fails to disarm in Gaza, as he presented a united front with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Monday. Speaking at a news conference with Netanyahu in Florida, Trump warned to eradicate any attempt by Tehran to rebuild its nuclear program or ballistic missile arsenal following US and Israeli strikes earlier this year. Trump also downplayed reports of tensions with Netanyahu over the second stage of Gaza ceasefire, saying that Israel had lived up to its commitments and that the onus was on Hamas. Meanwhile, Hamas's armed wing reiterated earlier on Monday that it would not surrender its weapons.
Well, we talked about Hamas and we talked about disarmament, and they're going to be given a very short period of time to disarm, and we'll see how that works out. Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be in charge of that from our side. But if they don't disarm, as they agreed to do, they agreed to it, and then they'll be held to pay for them. And we don't want that. We're not looking for that. But they have to disarm within a fairly short period of time.
Netanyahu said it had been a very productive meeting and announced that Israel was awarding Trump its highest civilian honor, the first time it has gone to a non-Israeli citizen. Netanyahu also appeared to have steered Trump towards focusing on Israel's concerns about Iran.
Well, President Trump has broken so many conventions to the surprise of people, and then they figure out, oh, well, maybe, he was right after all. So we decided to break a convention too, or create a new one, and that is to award the Israel Prize, which in almost our 80 years, we've never awarded it to a non-Israeli. And we're going to award it this year to President Trump. This was announced formally over lunch by our Minister of Education, who's responsible for the Israel Prize. It's going to be awarded to President Donald J. Trump for his tremendous contributions to Israel and the Jewish people.
Russia has accused Kiev of firing drones at Vladimir Putin's residence between Moscow and St. Petersburg, announcing it would revise its negotiating position on ending the conflict. In an audio statement, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Ukraine fired 91 drones at Putin's official residence in the Novgorod region overnight, adding that all of them were destroyed by air defenses. US President Donald Trump said on Monday that Russian President Vladimir Putin told him a swarm of Ukrainian drones had allegedly targeted one of his residences. However, Kiev denied the claim. Speaking to reporters ahead of a meeting with Netanyahu, Trump said the Russian leader raised the issue during a call earlier in the day.
I heard about it this morning. You know who told me about it? President Putin told me about it. Early in the morning, he said he was attacked. That's no good. It's no good. Don't forget, the Tomahawks. I stopped the Tomahawks. I didn't want that. Because we're talking about, it's a delicate period of time. This is not the right time. It's one thing to be offensive, because they were offensive. It's another thing to attack his house. It's not the right time to do any of that, and can't do it. And I learned about it from President Putin today. I was very angry about it.
The U.S. military on Monday carried out a strike on a boat suspected of drug trafficking in international waters in the eastern Pacific Ocean. U.S. Southern Command said the Joint Task Force Southern Spear conducted a lethal kinetic strike on the vessel, killing 2 men. The military also said that no U.S. personnel were injured during the operation. Since September, the U.S. military has carried out at least 30 strikes on what it says are boats used to smuggle drugs to the United States, with the majority of the attacks occurring in the eastern Pacific and some in the Caribbean Sea. And Israel has defended its formal recognition of the self-declared Republic of Somaliland, but several countries at the United Nations questioned whether the move aimed to relocate Palestinians from Gaza or to establish military bases. Israel became the first country to recognize Somaliland as an independent and sovereign state on Friday. Israel's recognition of Somaliland gives it a potential strategic partner countering Yemen's Houthis. In March, the foreign ministers of Somalia and Somaliland said they had not received any proposal to resettle Palestinians from Gaza. Somalia's UN ambassador Abukar Zahir Usman said Council members Algeria, Guyana, Sierra Leone and Somalia rejected any steps aimed at advancing this objective, including any attempt by Israel to relocate the Palestinian population from Gaza to the northwestern region of Somalia. Deputy U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Tammy Bruce, said the Council's persistent double standards and misdirection of focus distract from its mission of maintaining international peace and security. In September, several Western states, including France, Britain, Canada and Australia, announced they would recognize a Palestinian state, joining more than 3/4 of the 193 UN members who already do so. Now, the Saudi-led coalition in Yemen said on Tuesday it has called on civilians in the Yemeni port of Mukalla in Hadramaut province to evacuate until further notice ahead of a military operation, the Saudi state news agency reported. The coalition had said on Saturday it would counter any military moves by the separatist STC group in Hadramaut to protect civilians. In major shift of power in early December, the STC claimed brought control across the south, pushing the government out of Aden and seizing the eastern provinces of Hadramaut and Al-Mara as Saudi-backed forces pulled back. The head of Yemen's Presidential Leadership Council, Rashid Al-Alimi, had requested the coalition to take immediate measures to protect civilians in Hadramaut from violations committed by armed groups affiliated with the STC. Moving on to more updates coming in, the leader of Yemen's Presidential Council declared a state of emergency and cancelled a security pact with the United Arab Emirates on Tuesday after Abu Dhabi-backed separatists seized swathes of territory. A 90-day state of emergency, including a 72-hour air, sea and land blockade. The Saudi-backed head of Yemen's Presidential Council, Rashid Al-Alimi, said on Tuesday that all forces of the United Arab Emirates must leave Yemen within 24 hours. His orders come after the Saudi-led coalition in Yemen launched a limited airstrike targeting what it called foreign military support to the UAE-backed southern separatists, which is STC, at the Mukalla port. So big news coming in here. The leader of Yemen's Presidential Council has declared a state of emergency and cancelled a security pact with the United Arab Emirates after Abu Dhabi-backed separatists seized swathes of territory. Moving on, tensions between China and Taiwan escalate further as China kicked off a second day of live-fire drills around Taiwan on Tuesday, aimed at simulating a blockade of the self-ruled island's key ports. China claims Taiwan as part of its sovereign territory and has refused to rule out using military action to seize the island democracy. The latest show of force follows a bumper round of arms sales to Taipei by the United States. Taiwan's main security backer, and comments from Japan's Prime Minister that the use of force against Taiwan could warrant a military response from Tokyo. Beijing warned on Monday that external forces arming Taipei would push the Taiwan Strait into a perilous situation of imminent war, but did not mention any countries by name. China said early on Monday it was conducting live-fire training on maritime targets to the north and southwest of Taiwan in large-scale exercises involving destroyers, frigates, fighters, bombers and drones. China called the drills around Taiwan as Justice Mission 2025 as a warning against independence and foreign interference. Also, China said that it would never hesitate to combat separatism. Now, in brief, let us understand the history and independence of the island nation.
What is Taiwan's history and formal name today? Previously known as Formosa, the island has been home to indigenous people for thousands of years before the Dutch and Spanish briefly ruled parts of it in the 1600s. The Qing dynasty incorporated Taiwan as part of Fujian province in 1684 and only declared it a separate Chinese province in 1885. Following the Qing's defeat in a war with Japan, it became a Japanese colony in 1895. In 1945, it was handed over to the Republic of China government at the end of World War II. In 1949, after being defeated by Mao Zedong's communist forces, the Republic of China government fled and moved its capital to Taiwan, and Republic of China remains the island's formal name. What is Taiwan's international status? For decades, the Republic of China in Taipei also claimed to be the legitimate Chinese government, but in 1971, Beijing took over the China seat at the United Nations from Taipei. Currently, only 12 countries maintain formal ties with Taipei, mostly small and poorer developing nations such as Belize and Tuvalu. Most major Western countries and US allies maintain close unofficial ties with Taiwan by recognizing the Republic of China passport and having de facto embassies in each other's capitals. The US severed official ties with Taipei in 1979, but is bound by law to provide the island with the means to defend itself. The US officially takes no position on Taiwan's sovereignty under Washington's One China policy. China also says that United Nations Resolution 2758, passed in 1971, means the world legally recognizes Taiwan belongs to China. Is Taiwan already an independent country? Taiwan, whose people elect their own leaders and whose government controls a defined area of territory with its own military, passport, and currency, enjoys de facto independence even if that is not formally recognized by most countries. Taiwan's government says the Republic of China is a sovereign state and that Beijing has no right to speak for or represent it, given the People's Republic of China has no say in how it chooses its leaders and has never ruled Taiwan.
Still to come on this edition of DD India Live. US President Donald Trump wants to bring a lawsuit against Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. DRDO successfully tests maiden flight test of Pinaka long-range guided rocket. And 2025 will be remembered as a landmark year for Indian sport, a year of historic triumph, new champions and global recognition. A special report after the break.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Johar.
Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. Former Prime Minister and Bangladesh Nationalist Party chairperson Khaleda Zia passed away early on Tuesday while undergoing treatment at Evercare Hospital in Dhaka. She was 80. The party's media cell said Khaleda Zia died while receiving medical care at the private hospital where she had been admitted due to serious health complications. Khaleda Zia, a two-time Prime Minister, was one of the most prominent figures in Bangladesh's politics for decades and served as BNP chairperson for many years. Remembering former Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Khaleda Zia, Prime Minister Modi shared pictures on X. This is what he wrote. deeply saddened to learn about the passing away of former Prime Minister and BNP chairperson Begum Khaleda Zia in Dhaka. Our sincerest condolences to her family and all the people of Bangladesh. May the Almighty grant her family the fortitude to bear this tragic loss. As the first woman Prime Minister of Bangladesh, her important contributions towards the development of Bangladesh as well as India-Bangladesh relations will always be remembered. I recall my warm meeting with her in Dhaka in 2015. We hope that her vision and legacy will continue to guide our partnership. May her soul rest in peace. And marking a major milestone in India's indigenous rocket artillery program, the Defence Research and Development Organisation on Monday successfully conducted the maiden flight test of Pinaka long-range guided rocket at the Integrated Test Range in Chandipur. The rocket was tested for its maximum range of 120 kilometers, demonstrating all in-flight maneuvers as planned. The LRGR impacted on the target with textbook precision. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has congratulated DRDO on the achievement. He stated that the successful design and development of long-range guided rockets will boost the capabilities of armed forces, terming it as a game changer. Earlier on Monday, the Defence Acquisition Council, chaired by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, has approved a range of procurement proposals for the three armed services with a total value pegged at around 79,000 crore rupees. The DAC accorded acceptance of necessity or AON for the procurement of loiter munition system for artillery regiments, low-level lightweight radars, long-range guided rocket ammunition for Pinaka multiple launch rocket system and integrated drone detection and interdiction system Mark II for the Indian Army. For the Indian Navy, AON was accorded for procurement of Bollard Pull-Tugs high-frequency software defined radios manpack and for leasing high-altitude, long-range, remotely piloted aircraft system. For the Indian Air Force, AON was approved for procurement of automatic takeoff landing recording system, Astra Mark II missiles, full mission simulator and Spice 1000 long-range guidance kits and so on. Now, India's Union Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu Kinjarapu inaugurates Advanced Light Helicopter Next Generation, also known as Dhruv-NG. The Advanced Light Helicopter Next Generation Dhruv is a civil variant of the indigenous helicopter, was also showcased by HAL in 2025 Aero India show. This event marks a significant milestone for Hindustan Aeronautics Limited as it expands into the civil aviation sector. The Dhruv-NG is a civil variant of the ALH Mark III powered by Shakti engines and features a civil certified glass cockpit. It has a maximum cruise speed of 250 km per hour, a large fuel tank and can be used for various purposes including heli-tourism, VIP travel, offshore operations, medical services and rescue.
The most anticipated moment for today in this event was us seeing that Dhruv-NG flying in the skies. That was the most anticipated moment. And for it to be successfully done, I think marks a very, very important milestone in the Indian aviation history. I commend each and every member of HAL family here today for advancing India's Atmanirbhar Bharat beyond defense into civil aviation.
Let's now take a look at some of the features of the Advanced Light Helicopter. The Advanced Light Helicopter Next Generation, also known as Dhruv-NG, is an advanced version of the existing Dhruv helicopter platform. It marks Hindustan Aeronautics Limited's entry into the civil aviation sector and reflects its broader efforts to promote indigenous aviation technology. The helicopter is the civil variant of the ALH Mark III, which is currently in service with the Indian Armed Forces. The Advanced Light Helicopter NG, also known as Dhruv-NG, marks HAL's foray into the civil aviation sector, part of HAL's efforts to develop indigenous aviation technology. It is powered by Shakti engines, the civil variant of the helicopter, passenger capacity from 9 to 14 seats. Also known as Dhruv-NG, like we said, emergency medical services in remote or congested areas. It is in fact apt for civilian roles, offshore operations, supporting oil and gas rigs, high altitude search and rescue and relief operations. The advanced light helicopter next generation is well suited for a variety of critical civilian roles. It can provide emergency medical services in remote or congested areas. These were the features of this helicopter. Moving on to our next story, weather updates now. Delhi woke up to dense fog on Tuesday morning, reducing visibility in the area. The Meteorological Department has issued a yellow alert for dense fog in the national capital. The weather agency had forecast cold wave conditions in isolated pockets of Punjab, Haryana, Chandigarh, West Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh until 30th December. Severe cold wave and dense fog conditions also to be prevailed in Himachal Pradesh from 1st to 3rd January 2026. In Delhi, at least 128 flights were cancelled, 8 diverted and nearly 200 delayed at the airport due to the low visibility conditions. The airport is operating under Category 3 conditions, which allow flights to land in low visibility. Meanwhile, the aviation regulator, the Directorate General of Civil Aviation or DGCA, has declared the period from December 10 to February 10, 2026 as the official fog season window, during which fog-related disruptions are expected to remain frequent. Fog has resulted in multiple train delays, which in turn has impacted the passengers. To tackle this challenge, Indian Railways has stepped up measures to ensure trains run on time, even in low visibility conditions. All right, business updates now. US President Donald Trump on Monday wants to bring a lawsuit against Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell for what Trump called gross incompetence related to Powell's management of renovations at the Fed's Washington headquarters. Speaking in Florida, Trump also said he plans to announce his pick for the next chair sometime in January. Sports updates now. We'll start with cricket. India will look to continue their nomination and complete a 5-0 series whitewash against Sri Lanka in the 5th and final Women's T20 International on Tuesday. India have been clinical all through the series, restricting Sri Lanka to totals under 130 and getting home with at least 5 overs and 7 wickets in hand. Sri Lanka have had tough time going past the duo of Smriti Mandhana and Shefali Verma, who helped set up the host's highest T20I total. The 5-match series has formed a significant part of India's preparation for T20 World Cup in England in June-July next year. "2025 will be remembered as a landmark year for Indian sport, a year of historic triumphs, new champions and global recognition. From the women in blue lifting their first ever World Cup to India's dominance in cricket, boxing, chess and para sport, it was a season of breakthroughs and belief. As a look back at the defining moments that made sports in 2025 truly unforgettable.
Queens of the world, 2025 will forever belong to women in blue. On 2nd November, Indian women's cricket team finally touched glory. World champions at last, Harmanpreet Kaur's side stunned Australia in the semis and edged past South Africa in a nerve-shredding final. An unprecedented title that redefined Indian cricket narrative and inspired a generation. Champions again. India lifted ICC Champions Trophy 2025 in Dubai, defeating New Zealand by 4 wickets. KL Rahul and Ravindra Jadeja held their nerves as India chased down 252 with 1 over to spare. Asia Cup number 9. After that, India claimed the Asia Cup with a last over thriller against Pakistan. Tilak Verma's unbeaten 69 of 53 lit up Colombo and sealed India's 9th continental crown. India won Women's T20 World Cup for blind. Indian women's cricket team won inaugural 2020 World Cup for the blind. India defeated Nepal by 7 wickets in the final, played in Sri Lankan capital Colombo. 90 not out. For years, it was a question, Kab 90 par hoga, when he will cross 90. Neeraj Chopra demolished the barrier with a monstrous 90.3 meters throw at the Doha Diamond League, a throw that echoed across world athletics. Boxing's Big Bang. India's campaign at the World Boxing World Cup Finals in Greater Noida produced a stunning 9 gold medals. 7 of those came from women: Jasmine, Nikhat, Praveen, Arundhati, Preeti, Meenakshi and Nupur. A golden sweep that signaled India's rising supremacy in the world of boxing. Divya's World, India's Pride. 19-year-old Divya Deshmukh scripted history by winning the FIDE Women's World Cup, India's first ever title, beating legend Koneru Hampi in an all-Indian final. She also sealed her Grandmaster norm, and Pragnananda topped FIDE Circuit 2025, booking his seat in the 2026 candidates. Asia Cup champions. After 8 years, Indian men's hockey team reclaimed the Asia Cup, sealing their 2026 World Cup berth. Global ambition realized. India hosted its first ever World Para-Athletic Championship at the Jaylen Stadium, returning with a record 22 medals including 6 gold, a moment underlined India's growing commitment to para-sport. 2030 Ahmedabad awaits. Ahmedabad was officially awarded the 2030 Commonwealth Games, strengthening India's roadmap towards a bid for the 2036 Olympics. Colts on a mission. The Indian Under-17 team qualified for the AFC Under-17 Asian Cup 2026, defeating Iran in a must-win final qualifier in Ahmedabad. Europe's new kings. PSG finally claimed their first UEFA Champions League title, demolishing Inter Milan final in the final. Liverpool were crowned Premier League champion, finishing 10 points clear of Arsenal. Double world champions in Kho-Kho. India swept both men's and women's titles at the first ever Kho-Kho World Cup, defeating Nepal in a dominant fashion. Uttarakhand hosts the National Games. The 38th National Games in Uttarakhand saw services dominate with 121 medals. Bihar hosted the Khelo India Youth Games, finishing a record 15th with 36 medals, a remarkable jump from 28th place. 2025 saw India scale new heights in almost all sports, propelled by government's encouragement and support under PM Modi's dynamic leadership that pushes sportspersons to excel across disciplines. Sports Desk, DD India.
And that's all we have in this edition of DD India Live. Stay tuned for more news and updates. Namaskar.